To understand what cyanobacteria are and where they came from, we need to go back to when the very first life forms emerged on Earth. Because there had never been any living thing on Earth, there was no food as such. So the very first life forms were autotrophic bacteria, meaning that they had to be able to create their own nutrition from scratch. Conditions are harsh, and the raw materials that they had to work with were substances that are toxic to us, such as hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, and methane. These extreme conditions only suit extremophiles. Such organisms still proliferate where such extreme conditions still exist, like at the bottom of the ocean, where sulfurous material leaks through the Earth's core. The thing is, to do the chemical processing for biomass formation on a diet of hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, and methane takes a lot of chemical energy and is very inefficient. So organisms evolved that could harness the energy in sunlight to fuel their biomass formation and give them a competitive advantage over the extremophiles. These organisms are what we call cyanobacteria or blue-green algae. Cyanobacteria are extremely resilient, agile, and adaptable. So they produced biomass prodigiously and became by far the most dominant life form on Earth for hundreds of millions, if not billions of years. But here's the thing. Photosynthesis doesn't need oxygen as an input, but it produces oxygen as an output. So cyanobacteria emitted huge amounts of oxygen into the atmosphere, fundamentally changing it. This oxygen first produced carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Algae evolved and began to beat out and dominate cyanobacteria because they could use carbon dioxide as a carbon source for biomass formation by photosynthesis. With cyanobacteria and algae both producing oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis, the atmosphere became plentiful in oxygen, or aerobic, and this created an environment that favored aerobic organisms, and they, the animal kingdom, began to evolve and proliferate to the detriment of cyanobacteria. And here we are, the dominant species on Earth, because cyanobacteria were the first organisms to bring about their own demise by emitting gas into the atmosphere. But cyanobacteria haven't gone extinct. They're still around and making a comeback in our water resources everywhere. So let's understand how eutrophic conditions favor cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria thrived in primordial soup, which is an aquatic environment in which there's little to no oxygen, and nutrients are available in the form of substances such as hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, and methane. Where do they find these conditions nowadays? We're creating them at the bottom of eutrophic water bodies. Did you know that recent research indicates that 20% of the methane emitted into the atmosphere does not come from hydrocarbon combustion, but from the sediments at the bottom of eutrophic water bodies? So how are cyanobacteria able to exploit eutrophic conditions and appropriate nutrients to outcompete other life forms and proliferate so prodigiously? The three facts about a eutrophic water body that you need to understand. Cyanobacteria need to be at the surface in order to hog the sunlight to photosynthesize and proliferate. Cyanobacteria need to be at the bottom to take advantage of all the nutrients that are available in the primordial soup conditions where they can assimilate them, but competitors can't. And a eutrophic water body is stratified into layers. The fourth thing you need to know is that cyanobacteria have tiny gas vesicles in their cells, and they can inflate and deflate to control their buoyancy. In a stratified water column, where the density of the water varies with each layer, if you can control your buoyancy by inflating and deflating gas vesicles, you can descend to the bottom at night, load up on nutrients, and then float back up to the top during the day to hog the sunlight and convert all those nutrients into new biomass as you rapidly proliferate and bloom by outcompeting your competitors for nutrients and the sun's energies. That's exactly what cyanobacteria do. So by causing eutrophication, we're turning the clock back billions of years, recreating primordial soup conditions and actively promoting the proliferation of potentially toxic cyanobacteria that degrade our water resources.